Today, I'm going to give you the marketing plan guaranteed to get you a software job. Learning to code can be stressful and hard, and that's why I was proud to write the book, Breaking the Code, that gives you those 5 essential steps to landing that first software job. Pick up your copy today at Amazon or any other major outlet. So if you're watching this video, I'm hoping that you've already been on your learning journey and you've learned how to code. Maybe you've built some projects, maybe you even have a portfolio site. But getting that first software job has been difficult, or maybe you think at this point it's impossible. And that's why I think we see a lot of videos and a lot of people on social media saying, no one hires junior developers, or the development market is oversaturated. But I want you to consider this. What if you had a marketing plan that was guaranteed to get you a software job? Well, I have that such plan. And if you stick with me, it's a little bit long, but if you stick with me, I'll show you the steps that you need to take, the things that you need to build that will make sure that you get that first software job. So stick with me as we go through the marketing plan guaranteed to get you a software job. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about this. There aren't really 3 small steps. It's not really a, how can I get a software job today or tomorrow? This is a marketing plan that I take from business world. And when we're rolling out products or rolling out software, we apply this to a marketing plan, and this is no different. So this is a multi-step comprehensive marketing plan that we put together for all Coder Foundry graduates. We thought that we would release this to you, the general public. Now, some of our graduates don't follow this plan, but a lot of them do. And the ones that do get jobs. So I want you to stay with me, stick with me, and let's go through a very comprehensive marketing plan guaranteed to get you a job. Now, the first thing you need to think about this, a goal without a plan is just a wish. A lot of us want to be developers, but we don't really know how to get that first software job. This is the way to break into the industry. And so like, if you don't have a plan, it's just a wish. And so we need to put together a comprehensive plan to get you that first job, because it's the hardest one to get. So our plan is built into multiple steps. So there's 3 high-level steps, and each step under that has some sub-steps. But the first step of this is build. What I'm assuming is if you're watching this, you've already learned how to code. So building these things shouldn't be the problem. You just don't know what to build and how to use it to get a job. So getting a job requires that you have something to show someone, especially to those people that are just trying to break in. So this plan revolves around building specific things to enhance your visibility and your credibility to anyone that may hire you. Now, the first step in the build step is build a portfolio site. Now, this site is the main thing or the primary vehicle that people will interact with you in a passive manner. Now, marketing is a passive activity. So when we talk about marketing, we want to build enough artifacts around that people can just kind of find you. And so this passive marketing is what marketing does. Now, we're also going to go into selling yourself into it later on, but your portfolio site is the first thing that someone who's looking for a developer could find you. Now, this thing has to have a couple of key things. Number one, it needs to be professionally hosted with a custom domain. It must be responsive, which means that it works well on your phone all the way up to a desktop. And it also must have 5 basic things: an about section, which goes over about you as a developer, not you as a mountain bike rider. It's you as a developer. Coding challenges, projects, which are business projects, a blog, and then how can they contact you. Now, we've made a video that goes into a lot of detail about this particular portfolio site, so we'll link it up here. And if you want to watch that to learn more about this particular step, feel free. But let's move on to the next part of this. Now, the next part is I want you to think about building 5 mini sites. Now, mini sites are based on coding challenges. And you may ask yourself, what is a coding challenge? Well, a coding challenge are things that you commonly see at Leak Code or daily coding problems. And those are the more famous one would be something like a Fizz Buzz. What I want you to do is not just solve it from like the console going forward, is I want you to put a UI on top of it. so that the person that's looking at the mini site can interact with your coding challenge. And so we've made another video about, goes into detail of all the things you need to put in a mini site. But think about creating 5 to 10, maybe even 10 of these small scoped projects that solve coding challenges. Now you could think of them as a coding challenge from like LeetCode, or a simple app like a mortgage loan calculator. The thing that I want you to avoid here is toy apps. So things like tic-tac-toe, number guessing games, those types of things. I want these things to either solve a coding challenge or solve a business problem like a mortgage loan calculator. Now, what does this do? This improves your SEO rank because all of these are going to be professionally hosted and have a domain name separate from your portfolio site. So they're not really attached to your portfolio site per se. They could exist as a subdomain underneath your main domain that you have for your portfolio site, but they are completely separate sites. And what this does is improves your SEO rank or your relevancy ranking on your portfolio because you have sites that are linking back to it. You also give people more chances to find you because you have more surface area, more sites, or more things that you've created that they might happen to find. So look at building 5 mini sites. Now, the next step that we need to talk about is building 3 business class projects. And now these are separate than the mini sites, and they have a much larger scope. And what we're going to use the projects for are showing these during a demo. But what it needs to do at a high level, and we've created many videos on this as well, and we'll link some above, that you need to solve a business problem. It needs to implement security. It needs to use a database. It needs to have a way for you to demo this easily without creating a user sign-on or registering for your site. And then it must be attractive and responsive, which means it must work well on mobile, all the way up to the desktop, and it must look professional grade and professional ready. Think of this as a product that someone would buy, and that's how it must look and behave and function. Now, what this does is give you massive credibility that you can actually build things that people want to use. It also gives you a demo artifact for YouTube if you wanted to record a demo of your app and put that on your YouTube channel. But it also gives you a demo artifact in interviews. What we want you to be able to do is bring in your laptop with one of these projects on it ready to go, and then relate interview questions to specific areas inside this project. And this allows you to control an interview. You can turn a simple softball opening question like, what is MVC, or what is C# or tell me what you've done, and turn that into a demo of a piece of software you have. And that gives you more credibility, and it also allows the interviewer will start asking you questions about code you've written instead of what we call code trivia questions. And you can control the interview that way and put your best foot forward by demoing a business class project. As we roll these out, they must be hosted separately and professionally. And when you showcase this, it gives you more visibility as a developer. So let's move on to the next step. Now, the next step is we're going to talk about building a blog. And so a blog software. Now, you could roll out something like WordPress, or you could do some prepackaged blogs, things like Medium, or just use your LinkedIn portfolio about that. But what I want you to do is build your own blog software. Number one, it speaks to credibility that you can build things that people use. But I want you to use this to have a separate website, a separate professionally hosted domain that points back into your portfolio again, so that we can continue to improve that SEO rank, and it gives you more chances for people to find you. Now, what I want you to write about is this. You may say, hey, I'm a coder, I'm not a writer, and I totally get that. But here's some blog ideas that you can do. You can write about coding challenges, which you saw 5 or 6 already in your mini sites. Well, write articles about that coding challenge and then reference that mini site and that coding challenge if they want to go see how you solved it. You also can look at your business class projects and write features inside, or talk about features inside those projects. And so that may be something like, how did you access the database, or how did you use an API? And you also can write how-to articles, very simple, high-level things like fetch API in JavaScript. How does that work? Or how does string manipulation work inside of C#, or what a class modifiers are in object-oriented programming. Those are very simple articles that you could write. And I want you to write 20 or so of these so that you can have these things ready to go. Because if someone happens to be looking for an article or a topic about an article that you wrote and they find you, they're going to find their way to your portfolio, and that person may be a hiring manager. And so think about the blog as a way for you to increase visibility and give you massive credibility. Hey, if you're liking this video, please remember to subscribe and hit the like button and hit notifications to be made aware of all of our future great content.
Hey, just tell them to smash the like button.
And smash the like button. So what we also need to do is, once we have all of these build things done, we've built 5 mini sites, we've built a portfolio site, we've built a projects, and we've also built our blog software. You need to publish all your code on GitHub. But I don't want you to start just with that, just by publishing it. Is like a lot of people just publish it and they think they're done. What I want you to do is take this to the next level or the next step. Inside the README file for GitHub, you can use something called Markdown. And this allows you to add links, images, and really kind of like design that README page. So when they go to this GitHub repo, they'll see your kind of marketing for each of the projects that you've built. So imagine this, like you've built a bug tracker. They found this bug tracker code on GitHub. They go to the README, and inside the README, there's a link and a button that says, hey, click here to see it in action, or click here to demo the fully functional hosted version of this. That gives a hiring manager an easy way to experience the things that you've had to build instead of trying to clone a repo and look through your code. So think about enhancing your READMEs to be more of a marketing vehicle and less of like a technical document. You may be wondering, does this really work, or is this a lot of work? Like what should I do, or are you kidding around? I want you to think about this. If I have a portfolio site with a GitHub that links back to it in multiple projects, if you built all of these, you would have a blog site, 5 mini sites, three business class projects, all up in GitHub. All those links pushing them to this portfolio site. The same thing with your 3 business class projects that are hosted somewhere that are pushing links out or referring links into this portfolio site. The mini site's the same way. And then the blog article should have about the offer on every blog article that pushes them over to the portfolio site as well. So this gives you massive credibility and visibility. It drives traffic to your portfolio, and it increases your SEO relevance ranking. So if someone looks for a .NET developer or front-end developer, they may just come across your portfolio or one of the blog articles you had, or one of your mini sites, or one of your project sites, or maybe they're just looking up on GitHub and they're looking for blog software, and they find your software inside of GitHub, which pushes them portfolio, and that can lead to conversations, opportunities for getting a job. So to summarize, let's talk about step 1. In step 1, we built a lot of things. We built some mini projects, we built some business class projects, we built a blog site, and we built a portfolio site. But you may be asking yourself, okay, I've built all of this. How do I make sure that someone actually finds it or comes across it so that I can get more opportunities? And that involves promoting yourself out there. And that's the promotion part of this plan. So let's look at step 2 in our marketing plan, which is promotion. So let's say you went through step 1 and you built all of the things in there. You built mini sites, you built a blog site, you've built all of this stuff. And you're probably wondering, can I make sure that someone is actually going to see my work? How do I stand out in this crowd, in this big thing that we call the internet? Well, that involves promotion. So I want to show you how you can promote all of the things that you built so that you can get noticed, because getting a job requires that the hiring managers can actually find you. Now, the first step of this is promoting your blog articles. So we wrote those blog articles for a purpose. And I'm going to show you how you can push your content so people can find you. And this involves us engaging in social media. So we want to raise our awareness of all the content that we have, all the apps we have through social media. And specifically, we're going to use Twitter and LinkedIn as some of our top targets. But if you stay with me, I'm going to give you 2 other sites as well that you can use to help you get that message out and get that software job. So In social media, let's talk about social marketing, and let's specifically talk about Twitter for a moment. So when you write an article in your blog, I want you to promote that article in Twitter, and also want you to use hashtags to push it to a wider audience. And so, like, find hashtags that people uh, go to a lot, and use those hashtags on the bottoms of all your articles. And so that'll take a little bit of research on your part to figure out what are the hashtags that you need to use, because they do vary from time to time. And the hashtags that I can give you today may not be relevant even 2 or 3 weeks from now. Also, I want you to follow people who could hire you. Get into their feeds, and then also engage in their tweets. And when you're engaged in their tweets, be positive inside those tweets and not negative. That way they may actually maybe follow you, but people love it when they get mentioned, and they love it when they get notifications that someone liked their tweets or retweeted it. And I think that gives you more visibility for people that could possibly hire you. So you want to connect to a lot of different people on Twitter, and then you want to promote those blogs and articles in Twitter, and then use hashtags that are relevant. So go to the next step of this is using LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, you may think of it as a boring social media, or you don't think it's relevant because it's not got the cachet as Twitter. But here's the thing I want you to understand about LinkedIn. Recruiters use LinkedIn probably almost exclusively to find development talent. So if you do not exist on LinkedIn, you pretty much don't exist. So the first thing you can do is create a LinkedIn account. And then you must have a professional photo on that LinkedIn account, and it must be professionally maintained. I mean, it's got your resume on it, it's got links to your portfolio on it, it's well laid out. And then find as many people as you can follow and connect with as possible. So again, I want you to engage with people that could hire you. So try to connect with them. Try to send them instant messages. And also want you to create posts about your blog articles. So let's say you have a blog article on how to use, say, MVC in a C# app, and you wrote a really good article about that. I want you to create that as a post linking back to the full length article, but create a really good synopsis for the post, and then allow people to link back to your blog site to read the rest of it. And if you're connected to enough people, that will start showing up in your first level connections, your second level connections, and your third level connections down. And that's how LinkedIn works. It has this very kind of like first, second, and third level. And as you post content, they'll see it, even though you're not directly connected to them. And just remember, when you engage in posts from hiring managers, be polite, be nice, be positive, because that's how they're going to perceive you. Now, more about social marketing. Let's talk about LinkedIn, how we could use LinkedIn to actually get a job. What I want you to think about this, inside of LinkedIn, there's something called in messages, and you can message hiring managers directly on LinkedIn. And I'm going to tell you that's what you should do, but don't message them begging for a role. Make sure that when you message a hiring manager, you know there's an open role. You've looked on Indeed, you've done your homework. Tell them 3 reasons why you're a fit for the role and what value you can bring to the organization. Put a link to your portfolio there, ask them to review it, and then ask for a conversation. And a conversation in our world is an interview. And the hiring manager may not look at it that way, and they're likely sometimes to say, yeah, sure, I'd love to see your portfolio and I'd like to talk to you. And that's how you can sometimes kind of go around the traditional hiring process where you write an application, you submit for a role, and then you wait to hear back. Here, you want to message the hiring manager directly. This could be an HR person. It could be a developer manager or a director of IT. It doesn't really matter. Look for the right fit. Tell them why you can do the role, what value you're going to bring to the organization. Show them your portfolio and ask for a conversation. And keep on doing that until you get that first software job. Now, let's talk about a couple of other kind of social media or blogging platforms that you could use. I also want you to publish your blog articles on Medium and DevTO. Now, you may not have heard of DevTO, but I'm pretty sure most people have heard of Medium. The problem with Medium is it does have paywalls. So sometimes your articles can get behind a paywall and not get seen. And with DevTO, that's not the case. And every article that you post in there, I want you to link back to your portfolio and your blog site to give people two chances to go back and read about you, learn about you, and see the things that you're doing in the development thing. And also remember to this, every time you release an article on Dev or Medium, tweet about that article again. Now remember, Twitter is kind of like a stream of consciousness. So don't worry about tweeting something more than once. Keep releasing it, keep publishing your content, and keep pushing it. And pushing it to DevTO and Medium will bring more eyeballs to your content, which is more opportunities for someone to look at your portfolio and another opportunity for someone to reach out to you and offer you a job. So let's take a brief moment to summarize where we're at. We've built a lot of artifacts that we can show people, and we've talked about how can we promote ourselves using social media to make sure people can find us and know who we are. But how do I get that first interview? So let's talk about how I can get the interview, and then let's talk about some tricks and things I can use during the interview to get that first software job. So let's look at step 3, the interview process. So the little known secret, and you've probably went through this, is to get a job, this requires that you can actually win an interview. There's been a lot of people that get to interviews and they fail. But let's say that you're just struggling with getting interviews, period. You said, hey, Bobby, you guaranteed me a job. I've done step 1. I've done step 2. I've tweeted till the cows come home. How do I get an interview? No one's calling me back. No one's noticing my content. Well, my first step is that you need to work with recruiters. Now, what people don't understand about recruiters, specifically in the tech industry, is they may hold 50% of all jobs. So if you say there's 24,000 or 25,000 open C# positions, there may be more than that aren't even advertised on the job boards. The second thing that happens is even if they are advertised, the recruiting firm has already presented the hiring manager with 5 or 6 candidates pretty much before the job post even hits a site like Indeed. And so a lot of times you're applying 5 or 6 days later and you think you're applying for a job, but in fact, it's already been filled or they're well on their way in the interview process. So recruiter allows you to get there early and first. The second thing a recruiter will do is sell you into the company without you having to sell yourself. And this is really good because recruiters are professional salespeople that can help you overcome any weaknesses in your portfolio or any weaknesses in your resume, or maybe you have a gap in employment. They can help explain those to hiring managers and get you there to at least interview. So the second thing that you need to do is control the interview. And I cannot stress this enough. You need to control the interview. And it's very simple to do, but it takes a little bit of practice. What you have to do is take interview questions. So take 80 of the top level interview questions in your field. So if that's C#, I want you to look at the top 80 most common C# interview questions. I want you to know the answer to those, but how can you relate those to your portfolio projects or the projects in your portfolio? And if you can take one question, say the first question you get asked, and you relate it to something specific in one of your business projects, and then ask them to demo it, and then they actually look at your project, you will control the interview, because what will happen is that interviewer will start asking you questions about the things you've built instead of what we call code trivia, which is a set of questions that random questions they've came up with. They'll start asking you about things that you've built, and you should be able to answer questions about the things you built. Now, if you can't answer questions about the things you built, you need to start reviewing your code so that you know it in and out, backwards and forwards, so that you can be able to take control of those interviews and answer all those questions. Now, once you've done that, I want you to also ask for the job. So you say you've went through a full demo with your portfolio, and you just need to say this: hey, I've really enjoyed our time here, and thank you for interviewing me, but I really would like to work here. I'm really excited about the things that you're building, and it looks like the team here is great, and it looks like I'm a great fit for that. I think that the skills that I've showed in my portfolio match up nicely with the things that you've talked about, the things you're looking forward to do. So is there any way, or how do I follow up to get feedback? Or what do you think? Think I can work here? Ask for the job. Most people don't do that. So you may be asking yourself, does this really work? And let me show you why it does. I want you to think about this. If you build a portfolio site, you built 5 mini sites, you built 3 projects, you had 20 blog articles, you have this enhanced GitHub with your enhancing the READMEs, you have a resume, you are posting things on LinkedIn, Twitter, DevTO, and Medium versus all the other candidates. They have a resume and maybe a GitHub. Who do you think is going to get hired first? I promise you, if you did all of these things, you will get hired before the person that has superior education, maybe even superior background and work experience, but all they have is a resume and a GitHub. I have seen Coder Foundry students time and time again that follows this plan outperform in interviews and get job offers that they normally wouldn't have because they only had a resume and a GitHub. So I implore you, follow this plan, do all the things that we ask, and you will get an offer for a job. Now, what happens when you get an offer? And I know this advice I'm about to say seems counterintuitive, and you're probably thinking, hey, I'll take any offer I can get, and I understand that. But I have seen so many people coming out of the boot camp that once they get into the interview process and they build all their things, they get a little bit of confidence and they get that first offer. That's when suddenly they want to either negotiate or push it off. Maybe I can get a better one. Maybe I can get a full remote job. Maybe I can get more benefits, more pay. And here's what I want you to do is take the first job. When you get an offer, pretty much take it. And the first job, I want you to think about this, is for the experience on your resume. And it's not necessarily about things like location, pay, or benefits. That second job can be things like location is important to you, pay is important to you, the benefits are important to you, the culture fit, all of those things can be in that second job. And I have a story about a guy that followed my advice on this, and he went to somewhere in nowhere, West Virginia, from North Carolina. He had to move and relocate, but for 6 months he took that first job, and then 6 months later he had multiple offers coming back to his hometown and made more money long term. So think about taking that first job so that you can put that experience on your resume. And once you have that experience, the job search process is so much easier. So that's our complete developer marketing plan, guaranteed to get you a job. And if you follow all these steps, you will get that first software job. I want you to build things, and there's a lot of them. I understand it's a lot of work, and I need you to promote those things through Twitter and LinkedIn. Specifically, write those blog articles and push them everywhere, including Medium and DevTO. I also need you to work with a recruiter so the recruiters can get you to that hidden job market. And finally, I want you to take control of that interview when you get that interview by relating interview questions to your portfolio. And if you do all of these things that we're saying, you will get a developer job. You know why? Because you know how to code. Now, the final thing I want you to do is also take that first job offer. I want you to think experience is more important at this stage than software, than money, maybe position, title, benefits, and all of those things. I need you to get that 6 months to 1 year experience on your resume. And then after that, it's a lot easier to find software jobs. I hope this helps. Good luck and keep coding.